What's happening, world? It's typically your co-host. Today I'm taking the lead, Kyra, and what's happening? So this week we're going to do kind of like, not like a mega episode, but we're going to do a bigger episode because we are talking about Rian Johnson's Knives Out and then second film in the universe, Glass Onion. So these films came out about 3 to 4 years apart, and this is only important because Glass Onion incorporates the pandemic. It was written during that time, so it incorporates it.
Yeah. I liked them a lot. I liked the casting. There was like an all-star cast. Jaime Lee Curtis is in the first one, so big Jaime Lee fan. And then a few other stars were in it, so I thought it was good.
Yeah, so what we'll do, because this week's going to be a little different, so what we'll do is we'll talk about the first one first, Knives Out. We'll talk about the second one, Glass Onion, a Knives Out movie. And then I think we can compare and contrast because I think there's a lot that makes each of these movies great, but they are a little different. Well, actually very different. So starting with Knives Out. Now this is what I would call Rian Johnson's biggest mystery. To me, I started out with him as a mystery. Brick is one of my favorite movies. But are you more familiar with him when he was like directing the Star Wars movie that people hate?
Yeah. Actually, that's how I know him, from the Star Wars movie that I personally hate as well. As a Star Wars fan, I thought they were really bad. This is my first, besides those movies, interaction with him as a director.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really well done. Liked the casting. Was it Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc? I thought that was great.
I think, yes. I think his casting, Daniel Craig, is awesome because I find that Daniel Craig is in the same genre of actors with like Elijah Wood and Daniel Radcliffe, where they got really big off of a franchise and now they just do whatever roles they want because they can do it. And I think his accent, incredible. The way he speaks, hilarious. And I would say personally in the second one, his style, amazing. Yeah.
I just like to say, like, for me, it reminded me a lot of like when I was growing up. I used to watch like a lot of the Agatha Christie's.
Right.
And they had like the reoccurring detective, what was his name? Hercules Poirot.
Miss Marple.
Yep, Miss Marple. So for me, it was like great because it seemed like it was going back to that kind of genre where you're going to have the same detective, and like I grew up watching like Columbo and Beretta. So, sorry about the Beretta thing, but I didn't know he was going to be a psycho. So, but yeah, so those are the things I watched, and this was like really kind of like.
I know, and I agree, and I think it's such a fun thing to get back to because we see that Kenneth Branagh is redoing like the Agatha Christie ones with Hercule Poirot. So I think to have a fresh take, definitely with some like 2022 vision, I think is really exciting. And it's really fun. It's making these movies super accessible. And everyone likes a good mystery. I mean, every show on TV is like a cop procedural or like a TV like mystery. It excites people. So, and I think Rian Johnson is very good at layering a story, hiding clues, creating twists and turns. And I think he really understands people in the way that they work.
Yeah, the interactions between the characters was great. I like the whole concept of it. Like, was it a murder? Wasn't it a murder? It was kind of good.
I know. And I thought it was so good that so speaking in the first one, of course, you've listened to our show before. Spoilers. So it follows Christopher Plummer's character and his nurse, Marta, and his confidant. And he has a very wealthy family. He's built a legacy writing murder mysteries, which I love movies that are like a little meta like that.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
And then so he has his children and then their children, and they are all
leeches.
Perfect word for it. That is a perfect word.
They leech off his wealth.
Absolutely. And so Marta, soft-spoken, quiet nurse, they're close friends, confidants, and on his birthday, she thinks that she misdoses him.
Yes. And technically, well, you're going to learn that technically it would have been a misdose.
Okay, so we're going to get into this later, but I love that one part when he's like, you're such a good nurse, you knew. And she was like, so Christopher Plummer then kills himself to protect Marta because her mom is in the country illegally, and so she cannot go to prison.
Yes.
It would put her family in danger. Christopher Plummer understands this. He protects her. So now the whole family's like, they get the autopsy. They're like, well, who murdered him? Well, they don't know that. They don't know the autopsy results yet. That is a later part. But they all think that someone murdered him, and everyone's pointing the finger. Everyone wants to know about the will.
Yes. That's what they're more concerned about. They don't really care that he got murdered. They care, but they're more concerned about the will because he basically finances each and every one of them in a certain way. He gives them money.
So you have Jaime Lee Curtis, who is, I would say, his protege in such. She follows him, keeps the company running, has a cheating husband. Powerful woman has to have a cheating husband.
Yes, that's stereotypical.
Stereotypical. You have Michael Shannon as the forlorn son. He kind of is also a publisher, but not as good, kind of makes some bad, risky moves. And then we have Toni Collette, the influence. Well, not the influencer, but she's like in the chakras and, oh, I read a tweet about you. Yeah. Like very like airy. And then we have their children. So we have Ransom, the most famous, the son of Jaime Lee Curtis, who is just, I feel like a philanderer. I don't think he has a job. I think he just lives off of the money.
Yes. Yep. He basically lives off the wealth. He goes to the grandfather and gets whatever he wants and like gets spoiled, pampered, rotten.
Yeah, and everyone loves him. And then when you have the Gen Zers, as I would call them, the alt-right son, and then the liberal, as they call her, social justice warrior.
Yeah.
But I think all the dynamics within the family were super funny, super fun. And I think it actually is very poignant because I think that these are all archetypes of people that we see today.
Yeah. Yeah. It shows like a lot of families are like this. They're dysfunctional. They're like, it's just the way things are in life. I mean, no, everybody gets along. Not every sibling gets along. Not every family member gets along. I mean, you're always going to have that like between family. I mean, some people like to see if you're doing good, other family members get jealous of you. So this was like all incorporated in this.
Exactly. And I think it's so interesting when you add an exuberant amount of money to it because people always go for the money.
Yep. Show me the money.
Show me the money, literally. But like, so everyone's like hunting it down. And now Marta knows the truth, or she thinks she does.
Yes.
She's going to be like, I will not get framed for this. The family's coming for her. But the twist is he has changed the will. And now Marta has everything.
Yes.
And the family has nothing.
Yes. To their surprise.
And they're like, what did you do? So she's like, well, I deserve all this. But I mean, she does. So enter Benoit Blanc and his two detectives, Lakeith Stanfield and the man who is also in Glass Onion. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
So you know the little like hippie guy that's like walking around?
At the ending?
Like throughout the film on the island?
Yeah, he's the stoner.
Yeah. So he's the white cop in the duo.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that funny? So Rian Johnson, this is a sidebar. Rian Johnson has a tendency, and I think this is a sign of a good director, of working with people again and again. So earlier I mentioned Brick, one of his first movies, and that starred Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now Joseph Gordon-Levitt has starred in almost all his movies since. I don't think he was in Brothers Bloom, but like he was in Looper. He was a voice on the TV show that Marta's sister was watching in Knives Out. He is the voice of the gong in Glass Onion. And he's also in the new Peacock show that Rian Johnson is doing with Natasha Lyonne, who is also in Glass Onion. So I just think it's so funny that people love Rian Johnson. They have like all this respect for him that they will work with him again and again. You know,
Tarantino.
Just like Tarantino, just like, I mean, I feel like just like Scorsese. I mean, like, I feel like these actors and these directors find what works and what clicks with them, and then they just make. I mean, you could even say like Greta Gerwig and like Timothée Chalamet and Saoirse Ronan. Like, there's so many people, and I think it's so exciting. And I love that Rian Johnson is paired with Joseph Gordon-Levitt because he's one of my favorite actors. So, where was I going with this?
You were talking about like them working together and like the different shows that this.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going on a rant because I'm excited about this one. This one, I have a lot to say.
She's the lead.
So he works a lot with the same people. They even, after Knives Out came out, they were talking about doing a spin-off show about the two detectives, Lakeith Stanfield and I forget the name. His name's like Taylor or something. I'm so sorry, my man. I do forget your name. But really exciting. So the two detectives are here, and I love the interviewing scene where we see Daniel Craig and he's just sitting in the background, clicking the piano. It's so exciting. It's tense, and everyone, you can just see them being their like strong selves and then slowly kind of breaking down and like questioning. So I think it's cool. I think you can see like how Jaime Lee is like so strong and sure of herself and like dominant versus like Toni Collette, who like kind of like works off of like her airiness and lightness. And I think it's really interesting. You have like Don Johnson, who's like obviously hiding something. We don't know that it's an affair at the time, but easy to assume.
It's Don Johnson.
It's Don Johnson, and his son is Chris Evans. Like in this film, like it just makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Like perfectly cast.
Perfectly cast. So a lot of twists and turns, really great layering. I don't want to give away everything because if you haven't seen these films, they are so well crafted. They are really well thought out. They are interesting and intricate, and you can watch them 1, 2, 3 times again and catch something different every time, I believe.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like there's so much happening all at once. I mean, different parts. Like when they plot how to get out of the building so she doesn't look like she's the killer, going down what would that be called?
Oh, yeah, climbing down like it's not a fire escape. It's like a trellis.
A trellis, yes. They planned her coming down the trellis, and then like the grandmother is sitting in the window, and she mentions the grandson.
Yeah, she says, ransom?
Yeah, she's like, coming back again? And so it can, like, there's little hints and innuendos of what actually happened in this, but you have to catch it. And it all falls back into play. That's what I like about a good mystery, because it all comes back full circle, and then you figure it out. You're like, yeah, I get it now.
And I think this one, there's so many good callbacks. One of my favorite ones that happens is the final one. So Marta, the main character, she cannot lie without throwing up. A hilarious trait, I find.
Yes.
But at the end, she does lie so they can trap the killer. And then as he comes to kill her, she throws up. It is hilarious.
Yes, it was fun. Like, it's just I enjoyed watching it because it was like sitting there, and you know how like sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, all right, let's go on with this, let's move on. There wasn't a part of that movie like that. I was very intrigued. I wanted to know what's happening. The cast and characters made me want to know more. Their plots against Marta were great. Like when they were trying to like make her give the money up, and like they were trying to blackmail her. And like once she gets the money, everybody turns on her. Like the whole family who swore that they loved her and she was the best thing ever. Once they realize they're not getting the money, they totally turn on her.
Exactly. And I thought that they were so like pandering. And I think this really goes to show like what people with money think of people who are working class. Like you see it at the dinner party scene when Don Johnson's making all these like crazy like racist things to Marta, and he changes where she's from every time. Yeah. Kind of saying that any South American country is interchangeable, which is absolutely not true. Yeah. And so then you see that and then being like, well, we'll take care of you because you took care of like our dad. And then to see that switch like fully happen from like, oh, here it's going to be okay, to like, oh, what do you mean you have everything? Give it to us. You're not deserving of it. You're deserving of what we deem you deserving of.
Yes. And I think that's like society today. When someone from a lower class or middle class ends up becoming rich and stuff, like people don't tend to acknowledge them. They look at them like, nope, you're stepping above you. It's like Sidney Poitier with
exactly. You're punching above your weight class.
Yeah, you're punching above your weight class. Yep.
But at the same time, I think this story is so interesting because it ties to Glass Onion, and we will get into Glass Onion in a bit. But one point, since we were talking about now, is that it shows that there are women of color in a situation where they are rising through the ranks, whatever way possible, to help themselves, and you see the white greed push back at them, and it's much more apparent in the second one, and we will get to that. But in this one, I think it's also apparent, and you can see it in one of my favorite scenes, which is the final scene when Marta is drinking the cup, and it says "My House," and she's staring at the balcony, off the balcony, and she's looking down below at all of them. Like, I actually did win, and you have nothing.
Yeah,
and I loved it.
Yeah, just the way the visual aspect of that. You know, here is a woman of color that struggled, and like basically they all tried to plot against and saying that she was trying to rise above her stature. There she is above them all on the balcony, looking down at them now.
Yeah,
I thought that was like very poetic.
It was, and I think, and this is what Rian Johnson does. He is such a good director. His shots, everything is so well thought out. Okay, so I obviously am not a Star Wars fan. You know this. I've not seen them. Cannot speak to the Star Wars films. I can speak to every other film he's done. I mean, are they okay? We're not going to get into this, but are they really that bad?
Okay, so the thing about that is, as a Star Wars fan, you have a certain expectation of what the storyline is going to be and where it's going to go, and it's just, I don't think he was cast as the right director for it, because there's a lot of stuff in the Star Wars franchise that it was just very it wasn't well done. It was like he repeated the stories from the first 3 movies and just made them these 3 movies, if that makes any sense.
Oh, that kind of makes sense. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so he didn't really change. He changed the characters, he changed the locations, but it seemed like they were mirroring their first 3 movies to a T. Like everything was like the same.
I thought he just did one. He did all 3.
Yeah, but no, he just did one. But I'm saying like for the threesome.
Oh,
of the
I
movies,
see what you're saying.
So each one of them was like a mirror image of the first 3 movies, and it was just like not well done.
Oh, well, if it's not well done, it's not well done.
Yep.
But these movies are well done.
Yes.
Brick, well done. He also did The Brothers Bloom, well done. Looper, well done. Okay, I will stop.
Didn't see any of them. Good.
Oh my God. They're all well done. Here's the thing. Rian Johnson, I think, thrives when he does a mystery. And this is why this is so good, because he's thriving in his element, which is a mystery, which has visual cues, verbal cues, everything. And like shot clues. I don't know what that's called. I'm sorry, guys. So back to the story. So did you know that this movie was filmed in Mass, by the way?
No, I did not.
So Knives Out is filmed in Mass, which is very cool. The car chase scene after the DNA place blows up. What is that called?
Yes.
That's in Maynard.
I didn't know that. Maynard,
Yeah.
Mass. No.
Maynard, Mass. Yeah. So filmed in Mass. So I guess we should have led with that because it's kind of a cool fact.
Right? Because we're airing from
Mass.
New Hampshire.
Well,
Mass.
Mass,
Like
New
Mass area.
New England. So very cool. So now we have Chris Evans, who's like, "Hey Marta, I believe you. Let's pair up and let's work together." And she's like, "Should I trust you? You're slippery. Should I trust you?" And then she does for a little bit. And because I guess we always have to trust a hot guy in a sweater. I don't know. Chris Evans he has that face that you trust. I don't know.
Yep. So does Elmo, but
So
but that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm like,
But so she's trusting him, and they're figuring out all in the same time that the housekeeper got a hold of the autopsy report. Now, the autopsy report is what is important here. So should we just spoil the ending?
what, we spoil everything else.
I know. So the mystery is Ransom is the killer. If you saw the movie,
Dun,
you knew.
dun, dun.
And what he did was he was going to switch the labels of the medicine. So Marta would
Kill.
the grandfather and give him an overdose. And then since she was named in the will for everything, she would lose it all. The money would go back to the family. Now, how does Ransom know all this if the family didn't find out till after the murder? Well, he went begging for money like he does. And his grandfather was like, guess what? No. You get nothing. Marta's I'm better at playing Go than you. She's going to win everything. She's smarter. Da-da-da. She's getting everything. And so then Ransom was like, well, not today. And so then he killed him.
Yep.
But actually, he didn't. Christopher Plummer killed himself because Marta is such a good nurse that when she dropped the vials, she remixed them up. So she actually gave the right dosages.
Right. It was in the wrong bottle, but she gave the right dosage. So
he killed himself for nothing.
yeah, he killed himself for nothing, which is sad because he was a nice guy. He seemed like a decent person that would take care of Marta. Then she had to go through all this garbage for really nothing.
For really nothing. But she did end up with the money, and Ransom ended up in jail. So let's get to our main. I've been calling Marta our main character. She's our main protagonist of this family story. But our main character is Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc. Now, he is a hilarious detective who observes and sees everything and speaks in a way that is unrecognizable to me. What is the accent? We don't know. But he is so funny, and the way he deduces and comes up with things and the way that he forms bonds with his female protagonists, I think is really incredible. This is how we'll bridge the gap into Glass Onion. So we see him always believing Marta, and well, I mean, she throws up if she lies. And we see him protecting her and helping her and reassuring her throughout the whole thing. Like, I think they form like a genuine bond together. Yeah. And then you see that same bond happen in Glass Onion with Janelle Monáe's character. And I think it's I love that that's the dynamic, because that means if this series continues, we're always going to have a strong female lead in the forefront, which I think is fun and important.
And a smart fatherly figure, kind of like Yoda and Luke Skywalker.
Kind of, but I think Benoit Blanc is a little cooler than Yoda.
Oh, sacrilege!
Oh, I'm not a Star Wars fan. Okay, so now Glass Onion is written during the pandemic.
Yes.
Now, we have covered only one other pandemic movie,
Yes.
The Bubble.
The Bubble.
And I would say this one is leagues better.
Yes. Yes. The
Like-
Bubble was good in its own way, but this blows this away.
I mean, yeah, this movie blows away. I think the way that it I felt like it very accurately depicted what the pandemic felt like, and I felt like I could see every character I've seen in real life.
Yeah.
And I think we'll talk about one of my favorite scenes, but it's a very interesting movie. Again, all-star cast. I think what Rian Johnson does so well is with an all-star cast, he allows each character to shine in their own way, but also have enough chemistry and play off the other characters well, where the ensemble, like the large ensemble, makes sense. I think sometimes in ensemble cast, you get people who want to overshadow or overact, and it gets kind of jumbled, and it doesn't seem like it meshes as well. But I don't think that's true for his films. I think he directs very well. Now, I will say, where everyone had their time to shine in Knives Out, I think, especially with the characters of Katherine Hahn and Leslie Odom Jr., they were kind of shafted. I thought that they are incredible actors and they should have had a little bit more time. Movie could have been a little bit longer just to expand. I don't want to take away from anyone else because it was all important, but to kind of sideline these two great actors, I thought was a little bit of a disservice to the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. They should have been used more. I agree.
Because they were both so interesting. So Glass Onion happens during the pandemic. Everyone's sad, but Edward Norton, our tech billionaire, who is a hilarious caricature of every tech billionaire I've ever seen, has sent out these puzzle boxes to his closest friends to gather them to an island to get away from the pandemic. So it's interesting because during the pandemic, we saw rich people do this all the time. Like, oh, we're going to quarantine together and then we're going to go travel abroad to this private island that I have, like, just to get away from all the craziness. While like working class people are like dying and trying to just like survive. So I think it's so funny that they incorporated this, and it is a vacation mystery, and we don't have a lot of vacation mysteries. Maybe like Death on the Nile or Murder on the Orient Express. I have to be missing another one. But most mysteries are homegrown. They're not really in a vacation destination. I almost said tropical, but they're not all tropical. In like a vacation destination. So I think that was also part of this. But I also thought that was funny because it's so topical.
Yes. Yep.
And it makes a lot of sense. So we'll introduce our cast of characters. We have Benoit Blanc, but we haven't met him yet. Oh, actually, his meeting is so funny. When he's in the bathtub playing Among Us on Zoom, I thought that was hilarious because I felt like that's what so many people were doing because they couldn't see each other. They were just like Zooming. Like I know me and my cousins and my sisters, we did like Zoom trivias and like Zoom like cocktail hours just to like hang out. And I know a lot of people did. So I thought to incorporate this was like, it made it feel so much more real.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? I know what you did last summer when they go to the island and they're all trapped on the island with the killer.
Oh, yeah.
And like they're running around trying to figure out who the killer is. This kind of reminded me a little bit like that.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree because it's like, so I love an enclosed destination.
Yes.
And that's what this is.
Yes.
I wanted them to get picked off a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I know that that's not the mystery because it's like, who does it at the end? And I do find that we'll talk about that when we get there. There's a lot to unpack in this film just because it is so relevant, I think, in so many different ways. So we have the people that Miles, Edward Norton, is his friends, right? So we have Katherine Hahn, the senator.
Yep.
We have Dave Bautista, the alt-right men's YouTube activist,
Yes.
who's like selling poison. His girlfriend, who's also like an influencer. We have Leslie Odom Jr., the scientist. We have Kate Hudson, who is the ex-model, celebrity, flitty, airy, doesn't know, right? Like her character especially is like one of my favorites to talk about because it is so funny how she is such a caricature of everything that like you see with like these dumb, I don't mean to say dumb, I don't want to sound disparaging, but like with these influencers and these like celebrities who are just surrounded by yes men and protection that they don't know what's right from wrong. And then of course we have Janelle Monáe's character who incredible acting, I would have to say.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what it reminded me of? The Bubble, the influencer from The Bubble.
Yes, absolutely. But in that one, she's younger.
Yes.
So it makes a little bit more sense. But it's the same thing. It's like, nothing can really touch me. And I can do what I want. And then people will be upset for a little bit. And then apologize and just go back to making money and doing what I want. And no one will really tell me what's right from wrong. And I think her assistant, Kate Hudson's in Glass Onion, is such an enabler. So what I like in Glass Onion, similar to Knives Out, is that everybody is getting something from someone. I don't think there's a genuine connection. Everyone has like an ulterior motive, or they're doing this to get to this, and they're doing this for their own survival or their own greed.
Yeah, they're dependent on the person, just like the last Knives Out. They're
Yeah.
depending on one individual person, and this person is like the tech millionaire who is not a nice guy.
No. So we have Edward Norton's ever eccentric Miles Braun, who is hilarious when he just like makes up words and is just like, you're the fakest guy. And he's so funny. So he sends out all these puzzle boxes because he's crazy and eccentric and loves mysteries and puzzles. So we see everyone in a very fun montage scene, our cast of characters figuring out, and it pops open to an invitation to go away with him to the island. And then we see Janelle Monáe's character just smash the box open, which I think is hysterical because it's like beautiful, right? And she's just like, nope, and smash. It's awesome.
Yeah, Dave Bautista's mother telling him what to do.
Oh my God.
That was funny because she's just like sitting in the background like, push that.
Push that. It's a Fibonacci sequence. His character. So I think, if we want to like delve into each character, his being this like muscle-headed, alt-right, like men's activist, like influencer to like push these like pills on like teen boys, but like this, I'm the alpha male, like I'm this, I'm that, be this, and then like lives with his mom. And then we see him like time and time again get like emasculated by his mom. I think that is just so like, I feel like it's so true. Relatable. I don't know if it's like true or like
relatable.
It is. It's just a very funny stereotype of the character that I think is a stereotype because it's true. I don't know. I mean, I would feel like most alt-right men or men's activists do live with their mom and they're dependent on women. That's why they feel like they'll never get like a woman to. I don't know. I can't dive into the psychology
If
of
he
it.
played video games on YouTube, I could totally date it today.
Exactly. But like I would even date it today, like not saying he is as bad as like someone like Andrew Tate, but like I would say it's like he's pushing that same kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew Tate is a monster. So thank God he's in prison. But I feel like there was a lot of parallels there. And then and then he has his girlfriend. And she is so funny because I love that everyone kind of views her as this very like, I mean, she is kind of dumb, but like dumb, vapid, pretty, just like hot girl, doesn't really care about anything. But then you see that she wants to like use her platform to jump off and become like a news anchor. And she wants to do like all this stuff. And you're like, what?
Yeah, she's actually educated.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking this through? Who would have thought? So, okay. So everyone gets to the dock, right?
Yes.
And now this is one of my favorite scenes because I think it really shows each character and how they view the pandemic and how they view their status within the pandemic. And I think that this is like really true to what we saw like while we lived it. So we have Benoit Blanc, tight mask, fitting, cotton, matching his outfit because he's an icon.
Yeah.
You have Dave Bautista and his girlfriend, no masks. They don't care. They don't believe in it, right? You have Leslie Odom Jr., fitted, tight mask. He's a scientist. Makes sense. He's going to be protected. You have Birdie, Kate Hudson, who is in a mesh mask, which reminded me, of those who know, of the Lana Del Rey mask, which was just literally the same thing, just not even covering, just there for fashion. And then you have Catherine Hans, who is constantly falling down, and she could fix it, she could tighten it, but she doesn't, because I feel like it's her way, as we get into the story later, of how she just kind of looks at the problem and just kind of tries to cover it up and not really fix it. And we can see that what happens later when her and Leslie Odom Jr. are talking in the pool. So I thought that was one way, a really great way to introduce everyone's character and how they view the world around them and how they view like health and safety, right? Because I think now that we're in this pandemic era, that's what we're doing. How do we view health and safety?
Right.
And I thought that was so funny and so interesting. And then I think it was important that, so we see Janelle Monáe's character in a flashback. So not yet, but in a flashback, we see her wearing a mask. But when she arrives, she doesn't wear a mask. And I think that was for shock value. I don't think hers was in relation to safety. I think hers was in relation to shock value.
Yeah.
For her showing up.
Yeah. I agree, because like no one wanted her there, because there's a reason like no one wanted her there.
So there was a big blowout, right? So they were all. So we find this out as we get to the island, and Miles, my favorite thing is when he calls Daniel Craig up, and he's like, "Oh, why are you here? You're not supposed to be here." And he's like, "Oh, well, I got a box," and he's like, "Someone put together my box." So he's like thinking it's a mystery within a mystery. We haven't gotten to the twist yet. But what I love, and Daniel Craig's character says this time and time again, is like, it's so stupid. And I think that's why this one's called Glass Onion, because everything is right there.
Right.
And it's all so dumb. But at the same time, it works so well.
Yes. Yep. And also, like, you get the layers of an onion, and this person lives in a glass house.
Yeah.
And they say people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, and there's onions, like layers of this onion that like start getting peeled away, so you find out exactly what is going on. So it made sense why they called it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it is named after that Beatles song.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's so true. Because, like, even at the end, the idea of a glass onion is there's so many layers, but they're all transparent. And the key evidence was hiding in plain sight. Like, it was very funny. It was,
yes,
as Daniel Craig says, so dumb, it's funny.
It was a good movie.
It was a good movie. So there's a mystery within a mystery. So Miles Braun's whole thing is that he's having this murder mystery of himself for
Being
his
killed.
friends to give away. He gets killed.
Yeah, being killed. Yeah.
And so everyone's invited except for Janelle Monáe's character. Well, we find that out later. And Daniel Craig. He's not invited. But he's staying. They're all having fun. So through this, they're like, oh, we get to relax. We get to have fun. And we find out snippets about each person and how they're manipulating everyone else and manipulating Miles to keep getting his money. Miles talks about this. So what happens is Edward Norton and Janelle Monáe's character found this company. They find this product, and it all started at the Glass Onion restaurant,
yes,
which is also where the movie gets its name. And through this, like, they find this product, and Janelle Monáe's like, this is getting too dangerous. So Miles cuts her out of the company, frames her as crazy, takes everything. She's left with nothing. All his friends in court did not testify or stand by her. They stood by him because he's the money, right?
Was it synthetic energy, right?
Yeah, synthetic energy. And so she has nothing. So that's why everyone's shocked to see her, because they're like, wow, we haven't seen you in so many years because we basically screwed you over.
Yeah. They were all friends, and when he sued her,
they all
turned with him. So,
and they all lied in court.
Yeah, and they all lied against her in court.
So, first of all, bad people. But also, this is what money does to people.
The napkin.
The napkin. So, it's all about this one napkin. And I think it's so funny. So, they do a clip of, like, Miles, right? And when he's holding the napkin, just like Elizabeth Holmes is holding the pill, I thought it was so funny to show that it's like, he is like a fraud. Like, I think that just like further cemented, like, as a pop culture reference, like his fraudness. But he is a successful white man. We see this time and time again. So super fun. So, well, or not fun. So that's why it's kind of crazy that Janelle Monáe's character is here. And so he has this big speech to her about disruptors. That's what he calls himself. They're like, we're the disruptors.
Yep.
And that's how you make money, is you disrupt societal norms and social cues. And it's like, yeah, but you stole and profit off of a woman of color, which is like, who are the true disruptors of our like society, if you look at it in like our world, not in the world of the film, but both, because they correlate. So, and then she's like, you're full of shit. Like, this is nothing. Everyone's full of shit. And then they have the dinner party where he gets killed.
Yes.
Fake killed.
Yes.
And Benoit Blanc solves it in
2
seconds. He's like, it was so dumb. I get it.
Yeah.
And Miles is like, oh, God, what are we going to do now? But they decide to have a party. And during this party, Dave Bautista's character dies.
Yes, he's allergic to pineapple.
He's allergic to pineapple, and he dies. And everyone's like, who was that supposed to be for?
Yeah, they think it's poison. They don't know about the pineapple. So
yeah.
I kind of ruined that a little bit, but they think he was poisoned.
And then they notice that he's drinking out of Miles's glass. So
yes.
They're like, someone was trying to kill Miles for his money.
Right.
But instead they end up killing Duke, who is Dave Bautista. So then chaos ensues,
yes,
as it would. Oh, another thing that's very important is the Mona Lisa. How could we skip over this?
Yes. Yes.
So Miles owns the Mona Lisa,
yes,
which is hilarious and like kind of makes sense to me. Like, I don't know. It just, to me, it was so funny, like, because the Mona Lisa is like someone who like doesn't exist, but is like always watching. And like,
right.
I thought it was, but it's like the pinnacle of wealth in this. And I thought that was very funny. The cut scenes with the eye, when they're zooming in on her and the glass plate is going up and down, like the security, I thought that was tense. I loved it though. I thought it was really cool. So in this like room of trophies is like what we'll call it. He has like the Mona Lisa. He has like all these glass figurines, and they're partying in there, which is crazy. Like, why would you party in there?
Yes.
And then chaos ensues. The lights go out. Chaos ensues. We think Janelle Monáe gets shot.
Yes.
There's a gunshot. We think it's Janelle Monáe. So who, first of all, would kill Miles, and then who would kill Janelle Monáe? We're all confused. And then we get the flashback.
Yes.
Which is the twist.
Yep.
Also, a hilarious cameo. Hugh Grant being Daniel Craig's husband.
Yeah.
I love it. I hope he gets a bigger part in the third one because I think Hugh Grant is hilarious. And we see that it is not actually Janelle Monáe. It is her twin. She has a twin. Dun, dun, dun. Plot twist. Dun. And from this, her twin impersonates her because she knows that her sister was killed.
Yes. Murdered over the napkin. And she thinks it's one of these people who did it.
Yes. And they were each there at her house when she died, or around that time.
At certain points.
Exactly.
Like each person made a cameo appearance at her house before she was murdered.
Exactly.
Because she goes on the internet, sends them a thing saying, I have the... See, the napkin shows that she's the one that created the formula. And she lost the napkin. She couldn't find it. And that's when she got sued, she lost because she couldn't prove it. He said he had the napkin. He made a forgery. So she actually finds the napkin when she's tearing apart her house because she's mad at this guy. And then the napkin falls out and she's like, oh, I got it. So she sends an email to all those people except for the guy and says, I have it. I'm going to bring you down. And then they tell him. And then this is when she gets murdered. So now the mystery is she double murdered? Well, yes. No, not is she double. So we see her impersonating. We see her going through the steps and you're like, oh, this is all starting to make sense. Right.
The only person everyone seems surprised by her entrance, but only one person knows that she's dead. And this isn't her. So we see everyone's trying to get something for Miles, Edward Norton. We see Dave Bautista the most trying to get a network show.
Right.
Trying to become an anchor on a show. And he's like, yeah, I don't think you can do it. And then he shows him, he's like, look at these numbers. I can. Showing a news article. We don't know this at the time.
Yes.
But showing a news article saying that Cassandra, Janelle Monáe's character, is dead.
Yes.
So kind of like, what? And then he dies. Duke dies. So now we have a dead Janelle Monáe. And then what? She is not, because of Jeremy Renner's hot sauce. Yep. That is the blood, which I thought was so funny. Because, of course, to me, I feel like Jeremy Renner would have a hot sauce that only celebrities eat. Like, it just makes sense to me. I don't know. I felt like there were a lot of things I was like, oh, I could see this happening, like, in real life. So we find out that she's actually not dead and that the killer is Miles all along.
Right. You know what was confusing to me, too? When the first part, when she gets shot and detective comes and he's looking at how emotional he got, and I couldn't figure it out why he was so emotional that this one person was killed. And then you find out after.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, my God, what could have happened? And then she's not dead.
Yes.
And then you see her being like, Miles, I'm going to turn on you. I have the evidence. It's right here. Whoever killed Cassandra has the evidence. And he did. And then he lights it up.
He burned it.
Burned it
quick, too.
So then she does something actively disrupting. She breaks everything and gets everyone in on breaking it. Because, again, everyone's going to side with Miles.
Right. And they did.
And they did initially.
Which
shows that people will always follow the money.
Right.
And then at the end, they switch.
Yeah.
Because... So the trick is, the whole reason this is all happening, because the whole reason that he's blackmailing Cassandra out of the company is because the formula they created, he wants to put it in homes. Yep. When you put it in homes, it becomes dangerous. It becomes hydrogen gas.
Yep.
Hydrogen gas will obviously kill you.
Yes.
If no one knew.
Don't do it.
Hydrogen gas will kill you. So that's why they have this huge fight. This is why he puts Catherine Hahn in a bad position, because she's passing a bill to get this into homes. This is why he puts Leslie Odom Jr. in a bad position, because he's having him push through the research and the testing. Birdie's just like a fall person for him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like every corporate thing you think about. They don't care about the problems. They care about the money.
Exactly.
So, they push stuff through because they want the money. They don't care if it kills you. They don't care if it causes any kind of cancer. They don't care as long as they make the money.
Exactly. So through this, his home is all powered on this hydrogen gas. So then she lights it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. It's incredible. And then through that, they all turn on him, which I thought was really powerful because it shows that, like, obviously this is like a metaphor for like greed and wealth, right? But it also shows that if we team up together and turn against the white patriarchy capitalistic society that we live in, we too can overthrow it and make a better life for everyone.
Yeah.
Just a thought, everybody. But I thought that was really interesting. I love how in both of these movies, the women are victorious in their missions, and with the help of Benoit Blanc, who does nothing but support them and believe them no matter what. And then you have the money and the wealth get taken down, which I think is exciting.
Yeah. And I like there was a very poetic part where she opens up the casing to the Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mona Lisa burns, because if she'd not done that,
it wouldn't have burned. It would have stayed.
And just like had she not done this, he would have got away with it. So
exactly.
And like, I don't know if you know the history of the Mona Lisa, but it has like Mona Lisa has a lot of layers. Like there's a lot of layers behind it, because no one knows who the Mona Lisa is. There's rumors that it's actually the artist that did a self-portrait. There's rumors that it was a neighbor's girl. So there's layers behind
who
the
it
Mona
is.
Lisa. You know?
And I love that it burned, because it also shows that like everything is bullshit and it actually means nothing.
Yeah, it's just nothing.
It's just nothing. And I love seeing Benoit Blanc back in action. I think it's fun to see him in this universe where he says it. He's like, I was so bored in the pandemic, and then this mystery bored me because it was so stupid. And then the second one, like, he's like, I gave you the idea. I told you what to do, and then you did it. Like, you're so dumb. You're unoriginal. And I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, it was funny. Like, just the way he like uncovers everything. Like, he's just so quick with it. He's like, all right, well, you did this, and this, and you're stupid.
Exactly. He's like, this is so stupid and dumb and so like in your face. Like, I cannot believe that this is what's happening. So really great films. There is going to be a third one. They have already confirmed it. If you're a fan of Rian Johnson and his mysteries, his new show on Peacock starring Natasha Lyonne and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is airing this month. We're not paid advertising. I'm a huge fan.
No.
I would say if you want to watch two of my favorite Rian Johnson movies, please check out Brick and The Brothers Bloom. I think they're from early 2000s. I mean, Brick is one of my favorite movies of all time. I will say it is an incredible film. I recommend it to everybody who likes a good mystery. It is fun. It is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It is awesome. It is Rian Johnson starting out, so you can see where he's coming from in all these other movies, and to watch him progress as a director is so exciting for me because I think he is so good.
Nice. I'll have to check them out. I did not see them, so I'm kind of excited. Maybe we'll do something on those.
Oh my God. Well, we'll definitely do Brick because, like I said, it is a great movie. It would be fun to do it with Chinatown or something classic, because what Brick is, it is a neo-noir thriller, but it is set in a California high school, but they speak like they do in thrillers.
Oh.
So it's very interesting. It's kind of like in Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann one, when it's Leonardo DiCaprio and they have guns, but they're speaking in the old Shakespeare dialect.
Yes. Yeah, I actually liked that. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was good.
Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, I thought it was all right.
I love Romeo.
Yeah,
okay. So, story of Romeo and Juliet. This is a huge tangent, but I'm just going to say it. Story of Romeo and Juliet, like, timeless, I guess, because it's Shakespeare, and it can be adapted so much. It's kind of silly, though, like 2 14-year-olds, like, falling in love. You should age them up, I think, to make it make more sense.
Is it any sillier than a werewolf loving a baby?
Oh, first of all, Twilight. Oh my God, you guys want to hear me get on a rant? Okay, I will say though, full transparency, full glass onion, if you want to say.
Glass onion?
I read all the Twilight books to the point where I had my dad take me to the midnight release of the final book because I was a big fan of the books. Movies are camp now. Movies are hilarious now, but the books.
I read them too. I'm sorry.
Okay, see, you can't even judge.
I'm sorry. Someone told me to read them, and I did. I did. I didn't read Divergent because after I got sucked into Twilight, I was like, I can't do it.
I can't do it.
Can't do it.
But yeah, so I don't know how we got on this tangent, but I love it.
Just having fun.
Just having fun. That's what we do here. I know this was a little bit of a longer episode for you guys, but we did cover 2 films.
2.
I would watch both of them. Glass Onion is available through subscription on Netflix.
Yep.
Knives Out, I had to rent.
I had to rent it too. It's still rent. I was going to watch it again today, and you still have to rent it.
Yeah, you have to rent it. So sorry. It used to be on Prime for free. Don't know what happened, but you got to rent it now. We have a lot of fun stuff in store. Next week, we're going to be doing a little bit of an introspective on Waz as an author and as a kind of just a person in general. We're going to be diving into his book. So if you guys haven't checked it out, it's Hodgepodge. It's on Amazon, Kindle.
Yeah, Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble. I knew I was forgetting one.
Yeah, you can find out the darker side of Waz.
The darker side, because this is just the fun, silly side.
Yes.
But the book is fun and silly too in some parts.
Yes. So I'm getting good feedback for it. I appreciate you mentioning it. I wasn't going to. Thank you very much. So yeah, it's on Amazon, and if you get a chance, get it. And I'm probably going to do some promotions for it, and there might be signings and all kinds of fun stuff coming up.
Yeah, if you live in that area, always reach out to us. We may be doing some local things to promote the book. And again, we'd love to hear from you. Talk to us. Tell us what movies you want to do. We have a lot of ideas on the roster. We might get weird with it, or we might stay pretty traditional. We'll see. But here's to next time.
All right. I have nothing else to give, so close it out.
All right. Well, we'll catch you next time on What's Happening.